Magnolia Voss knelt among her tomato plants, her weathered hands sifting through the dark soil behind her modest wooden house on the edge of a dusty frontier settlement. To passers-by on the main street, she was just another respectable woman tending her garden, her graying hair tied back, her apron stained with earth. But as she dug deeper, her fingers trembled, not from age, but from the weight of a secret buried for 30 years. The morning sun cast long shadows across the settlement, and Magnolia's eyes darted more often than usual toward the rolling hills beyond town. Those slopes held memories she'd spent decades trying to forget, memories that haunted her dreams and clung to her like the dirt under her fingernails. 30 years ago, blood had mixed with earth in a moment that changed everything. She wiped sweat from her brow, smearing dirt across her pale skin, and the gesture pulled her back to that night, a night she tried to bury as deeply as the truth. Her hands moved mechanically, pulling weeds with practiced precision, but her mind churned with fear. She'd always known this day might come, but she hadn't expected it on an ordinary Tuesday morning. Sterling Maddox rode into town with the kind of purpose that made folks step aside. His horse kicked up dust as he dismounted outside the general store, his sharp eyes scanning the settlement with the methodical gaze of a man who hunted secrets for a living. He wore a territorial marshal's badge, not the local sheriff's star, signaling authority that reached far beyond petty disputes. Magnolia froze when she spotted him through the gaps in her picket fence. His deliberate stride and the way he studied each building sent a chill through her. She'd lived in dread of this moment for 3 decades, and now it was here. Forcing herself to continue gardening, she yanked weeds with more force than necessary, her heart pounding. Every instinct screamed to run, to vanish into the wilderness as she'd done once before. But running now would only confirm what she feared he already suspected. She glanced at the small wooden cross among her vegetables, weathered and barely noticeable, a marker that meant nothing to anyone else but everything to her. It stood over the secret she'd guarded for 30 years. Inside the general store, Sterling's low voice carried through the thin walls, though Magnolia couldn't make out the words. Men like him didn't come for stolen cattle or boundary disputes, they came for crimes that left permanent stains. She gathered her tools, her hands shaking, and tried to steady her breathing as she watched him emerge from the store, a leather satchel under his arm. His eyes locked onto her property, and she felt exposed, as if he could see through her carefully crafted facade. Sterling approached her garden, his boots stirring small clouds of dust. "Morning, ma'am," he said, touching his hat brim with practiced courtesy. "Sterling Maddox, Territorial Marshal. I'm hoping you can help with some questions about the old days." The words hit like a hammer. Magnolia gripped her spade tightly, her knuckles white. "I'm afraid I don't know much about old times, Marshal," she said, her voice steady despite the dryness in her throat. "We keep to ourselves here." Sterling's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Funny thing about the past, ma'am. It has a way of surfacing." He reached into his satchel and pulled out a silver bracelet, its turquoise stones glinting in the sunlight. "Found this 20 miles north, near an old creek bed." Recognized the craftsmanship. Magnolia's vision blurred. She knew that bracelet, every etched pattern, every stone. She'd watched Clementine Shaw's grandmother craft it, pouring love into each detail. Seeing it now, after all these years, made her stomach churn. "Don't recognize it," she whispered, but her voice betrayed her. "Strange," Sterling said, his tone deceptively casual. "Folks at the trading post remember selling materials to repair a bracelet like this." Described the customer as a young woman with light hair and nervous hands, asking about fixing a broken clasp. The spade slipped from her fingers, clattering against the fence. She'd forgotten that trip to the trading post, a desperate attempt to alter the bracelet before deciding it was too dangerous to keep. Sterling's eyes missed nothing, reading the guilt in her trembling hands. "No mistake, ma'am," he continued. "I've been working this case for 2 years. Started when prospectors found bones near Willow Creek, human bones, with this bracelet and other items." He paused, letting the weight settle. "The bones belonged to a young native woman, likely died 30 years ago. Showed signs of trauma, not from an accident, but from deliberate violence. Magnolia's legs wobbled. She gripped the fence post, her mind racing. She'd been so careful that night, digging deep in the wilderness. But time had betrayed her, shifting the soil and exposing her crime. Lots of folks die out here, she managed, her voice weak. Sterling nodded, pulling a scrap of fabric from his satchel, blue cotton with tiny white flowers, torn and faded. Found this near the burial site. Matches address from a missing person report filed 30 years ago. Clementine Shaw's dress. The name hit like a blow. Clementine Shaw, her best friend, her confidant, the woman whose trust she'd betrayed. Magnolia's knees buckled, and she clutched the fence to stay upright. Memories flooded back, Clementine's laugh, her gentle hands braiding Magnolia's hair, the trust in her eyes until the moment everything changed. Clementine was planning to meet someone that night, Sterling said. A friend she trusted, who promised to help with something important. His gaze pierced her. You're looking pale, ma'am. Maybe we should sit and talk about what you remember. I don't remember any missing girl, Magnolia said, her voice cracking. Sweat beaded on her neck, her hands trembling behind her back. Sterling's expression hardened. Talked to Vera Lancaster this morning. Her memory's sharp. Said you and Clementine were inseparable, always planning adventures. She also mentioned you both wore matching necklaces, silver chains with cross pendants. After Clementine disappeared, you stopped wearing yours. Claimed you lost it. Magnolia's hand instinctively touched her throat, where she now wore only fixed on her, his eyes unyielding. It's time we talked about what happened that night by Willow Creek. Her resolve shattered. Sinking onto her porch step, Magnolia sobbed, the weight of 30 years crashing down. She trusted me, she whispered. Clementine trusted me, and I destroyed her. Sterling pulled out a notebook, his expression neutral but his eyes sharp. Tell me what happened. Her voice trembled as she confessed. Clementine was in love with Thomas, a man from the next settlement. She planned to elope with him and asked me to come for support. I loved Thomas too, though he never cared for me the way he did her. I couldn't bear losing them both. The words spilled out, unstoppable. I went with her to the creek that night, carrying a heavy stone hidden in my shawl. We waited for Thomas, but he never came. Clementine cried, and I held her. Then I struck her from behind. Sterling's jaw tightened, but he kept writing. She didn't die right away, Magnolia continued, her voice breaking. She was hurt, confused, trying to speak. I buried her anyway, alive, to protect myself. The confession's cruelty stunned even Sterling, a seasoned marshal. Her last words, she whispered, were, I forgive you, Maggie. Even as I buried her, she forgave me. That's what I've carried, her goodness against my evil. Sterling closed his notebook. Magnolia Voss, you're under arrest for the murder of Clementine Shaw. She didn't resist as he shackled her wrists, the cold metal oddly freeing after years of hidden guilt. As they walked to his horse, neighbors watched, some shocked, others unsurprised. Vera Lancaster, sharp-eyed and knowing, called out, Marshall, Clementine's brother, Nathan Shaw, still lives in California. He's been searching for her. 3 months later, Magnolia stood trial. Her confession left no room for defense. Judge Harrison Whitmore's voice was stern, for the premeditated murder of Clementine Shaw, you are sentenced to death by hanging, to be carried out in 3 days. In the courtroom, Nathan Shaw's sad eyes met hers, not with hatred but with grief. Magnolia addressed the court, Clementine was the best person I knew. She deserved a life I stole. I don't ask forgiveness, but I hope her family finds peace. 3 days later, at dawn, justice was served. Magnolia's secret died with her, and Clementine Shaw's memory was finally free to rest.